The Conscious Man.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast.
What is a conscious man?
Let's rock and roll, bro.
Giddy up, partner. Here we go.
Hell yeah, brother.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing real good.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Just rolling with the punches.
Yeah,
living
fucking
the dream.
rolling with the punches. That's that's where I've been at.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've made a huge shift recently, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm feeling really fucking good lately.
Yeah.
So
Great.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got
Great to be
tonight.
here.
We've got Dustin Delight, and
Not
no, that
a
is
stage
not just his stage name, even though he looks like a male stripper. That is his actual name.
Yeah. Funny enough.
So yeah, dude, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. It's my honor.
So the podcast is called The Conscious Man. So I ask all my guests, what does it mean to you to be a conscious man?
It's a great question, and I actually love the question. So, for me, a conscious man is really in tune with not only one's higher self, but even God or your higher power or whatever that may be. But and part of that, being in tune, you're living daily with an awareness, a knowing, an appreciation, a gratitude for life. You find the joy, the happiness in everything, in everything here in life. It's being able to have peace while even there might be a storm, It's being able to remain calm through those periods that get a little turbulent in life. But really, really kind of tapping into that consciousness and even the awareness of what is going on around you at all times. Being in tune with nature, being in tune with the frequencies, the energies, in not only nature, but the people around you, like being with, opposite sex and yet even the same sex, the different energy flow, and to see it and to feel it and the appreciation of that. And honestly, I'm going to say appreciation probably a million times tonight.
Yeah, I love it.
Because appreciation is the sword of the conscious warrior. It really is.
Appreciation is the sword of the conscious warrior.
Yeah, that is what we use. That is our main tool to even move through this. Like those Spartans that had to, and even the Vikings. Like, how big I'm into Vikings, how they had to confront things, confront their fears, and move through opposition and be able to leverage that tool. But also leverage that tool as something good to teach their sons, to teach, everyone in the community and the tribe on how to use from numerous different aspects, and the respect you have for it too. So, also a conscious man lives with intent every single day. There is an intention, there is an intention to, be generous, be kind, to share, to literally and find, kind of that joy in how you involve others, teach others, and also I think you want to constantly learn. I think a conscious man is constantly learning, very open, sees things with amazement all the time, just to, constantly wants to, meet and feel different energies in other people and experience what they're experiencing, hear about their experiences of life. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is the experience, the amazement and the gratitude and the appreciation of everything we're dealing with down here. Yeah. So, a conscious man to me is like, I could go on for hours, I feel like, because there's just so much about it. Had you asked me that maybe even 6 months ago, I would have given you probably some dipshit answer, because I think since I've come into this group and just everything that is really just kind of compounded and really just unfolded in the last, just short amount of time.
We haven't even known each other a fucking year yet.
I know,
bro.
dude. I've known you forever, man. I've known you forever,
I know,
lifetimes.
Right?
Yeah. So it's amazing to me, like to open up that consciousness, and it's everything. It's everything around us, the energy, the flow, the experiences of life, and being present. I think a conscious man is very present.
Yeah, grounded.
Very grounded. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's and understanding that everything is conscious. Everything is conscious.
And it's all connected too, right?
All connected.
Yeah.
Everything is interconnected. Everything is of one, essence.
Right.
So the essence of life, I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, just it fucking amazes me every day waking up now. I'm just like, holy shit, how am I not seeing a lot of these things in the past? I've been so blind, so you guys have opened my mind in a lot of ways.
Dude, that might be the best fucking answer I've got so far. And I like kind of like everything you were saying, like really does come down to appreciation.
Yeah.
Like, and you said you're going to repeat that as kind of the theme of like everything that you said is like a conscious man really just like appreciates his experience here. And I also, loved a little bit about what you said about like it's the sword, right? And, people that don't know you, your background is you are very into martial arts, fighting, and you've taught me a lot. Like already, we haven't been training for super long, but like one thing that like I was like really aware of, you've talked about it before. You've talked about like martial arts and the mind-body connection. Right? And
huge.
I've heard you say that multiple times and how that can expand into so many other areas of your life. And this week training in your house was like the first time I really like fully actually connected to that because we were sparring and I just got in this fucking flow and I was like, oh, this is it. This is what can expand into every other area of my life for me to be able to flow with the universe.
Exactly.
And
if you really think about it, I could see it in your eyes. It is almost a memory, a remembrance.
Yeah.
Because you've done this so many times through and through. And that energy that you tap into, that you connect with when you are, even though fighting, we think of it as an act as violence, but it is an art.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And it's how that brain, body, mind, body connection really works and how it can literally just gets in complete tune. And you flow, and that energy that you're pulling, even from the ground and from anything around you, from the people
like
in the
room.
chi
that you can pull up from the earth. And there's so much that goes into it.
And you find so much joy in it too. And the interest is suddenly is just like, it's you vibrate at a such higher level. And it literally, in a roundabout way, it gives me deja vu. Sometimes when you're punching, and I'm catching those punches, I'm seeing you in a previous lifetime as a Viking, as we're training, as we're sparring, as we're leveraging different tools, different weapons, grappling, our hands, everything, because we're trying to use everything we can, even learning how to train with rocks, but yet at the same time walking around going, hey, rocks are conscious.
Yeah. And we understand their
we understand that spirit, that energy, everything. And they know if we have to use them in a time of violence for protection, they understand, and they're coming to our aid in a roundabout way, and they're going to move that energy and flow that energy into us and let us know how to use them.
Yeah, because it gives them more purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So let's just fucking get into it then. Past lives.
Oh, dude, fucking past lives. It's been crazy for me.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you an experience. Okay. I it was literally just the other day. And we'll get into a little bit more background, because you've had kind of past life experiences. I've had past life experiences going back like 2 years ago with the Spartans, and I saw so much there. And it's really what helped me, inspired me to start the group Conscious Warrior and build it around like Spartan methodology. And it was really cool because you've recently brought up that you've felt very connected to the Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
And I've actually been told before that I lived a past life as a Viking, but I had never connected to it. And then Zach, who's also in our men's group, had a vision of him with his Viking ancestor on a boat that was talking to him about his son. And
I love it.
So fucking cool, bro. We're having so many cool experiences that we've all come together, and it's like now we're like seeing like these past lives. And I was in my truck the other day, and I sent you guys that song, and it's actually like kind of more like a pirate song, but I was listening to that song, and it's just I'm listening to my truck on full blast, and it's just fucking powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like men singing about like hoist the flags, and I'm listening to that song, and then I can like feel like we're on a boat, and you were like in front of me with another guy, and we were just rowing. And we were singing.
Exactly.
And then Zach was across the boat, and I haven't told anybody this yet. Zach was across the boat rowing, and Bruce was standing on the front of the boat, like watching.
Dude, I've had almost the same vision.
Really?
It's, oh my God. But from my perspective, from the way I observed it, but it's the same, almost identical, dude.
Yeah,
so this was
really
crazy.
Cool.
It's very fucking
really
cool.
fucking cool. So I've been trying to connect a little bit more with that Viking, those Viking ancestors, and I haven't like dove into like the studies, because that's what I did with the Spartans, because I knew what it was trying to teach me. It was like pushing me to start this men's group.
Absolutely.
And so I kind of dived into like their knowledge, and the big thing I took from them was just like their knowledge of how emotions work in our body and how they block the energy centers. And if, they knew that if they could really have a mastery of their emotions, they could be the greatest fucking warriors ever.
Amen.
Which is why they were very intentional about their emotions. So like after battles, they would allow their emotions to release. They would come together. They would have their rituals. They would allow their fear to come out with their brothers.
Exactly.
And then they would go into the next battle, and they were able to fully hold their fear at bay. Right. Because they were masters of emotion.
Yeah. Well, what's really cool about them is they would leverage the fear and turn it into anger, which is a step up from fear. So it's taking the fear and now turning it into an anger that you appreciate because you are protecting your fellow brother. So that's how they would leverage it. So those emotions are very good. Yeah, fear comes up, and a coward's way is afraid of being afraid.
Yeah, so it's not even that they're holding it back. It's that they're channeling it intentionally.
Channeling it. They're transferring it into another type of, they're using it as a positive energy.
Interesting.
Yeah. That the Vikings, Spartans, all those Native Americans, that they knew how to do that. And we've gone through all those lifetimes and experienced all those, both men and female.
Yeah.
That's what's very trippy.
Yeah.
So obviously right now, I just completely relate and resonate and remember the more masculine times, the male lives.
Yeah.
But I have had memories of even being a female.
Interesting.
Because the universe, it wants that equanimity. It wants the equanimity for us.
You probably have just as many lives as a woman as you do as a man.
Yeah. You probably come back each time. And this is what Terrence Howard talks about too. So I got to give him the credit is each time you're coming back as different. So you came as a man, and maybe even anything you did to women, there's going to be a karmic effect when you come back as a woman in the next life.
Yeah.
So you have to
you're the
understand.
perpetrator in one life, and you're the victim in the next.
Exactly. So you have to learn how to leverage that and know that balance is coming.
Yeah.
It's a universal kind of law or balance, a balancing act and getting us. Plus, our souls love the shit out of it. Yeah. It wants the experience. It wants to experience both sides. It wants to, it's a little unfortunate for those that come back and are still so caught up in maybe their feminine traits that, and now they have a different experience as whether that be gay or transgender, which would be a real mind fuck for me personally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I understand it because they're coming from a past life where they really resonate with that feminine
or there was maybe some sort of karma that they're working out in this life.
Absolutely. There's all kinds of aspects we can look at there. Yeah. But it also helps you understand why someone comes back and they are gay. I can totally I get it.
Yeah. It would be hard. It would be really fucking hard.
Yeah, especially in this day and age in reality, even though they get a lot more respect than they did. But but
it's just it's a totally different thing than it was 30 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Totally. Yep. So I want to go back a little bit to the way that Spartans use their anger, because I've never thought about it, or their fear.
It's fucking beautiful.
Because that is a lesson in and of itself that men could pull out for themselves. Absolutely. Is having that mastery of your emotions and understanding them and not suppressing them. Yeah. And when you don't suppress them, you see them. And when you see them, you understand them. And then you know how to use them for your benefit.
Exactly.
So how could a man now take his fear and leverage it for his benefit?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I have numerous, ways to kind of go around this, and ways I'm using personally in my own life and everything like that. Because so fear is an indicator. We need to see it as an indicator, barometer, even a friend. Yeah. In a roundabout way. When fear comes in, we need to take it in. We need to get into that emotion and flow through it. So let's take, for instance, like a basic thing. You got a fear of spiders. Now what you need to do is, and it talks about this in that book, Frederick Dustin, so I got to give him, some credit there, but it really takes on channeling that, hey, let's start to channel that fear into a fear of fucking chocolate that you're addicted to or whatever, or candy or soda. Yeah. Let's transfer that fear over here, and then as you sit through that and go through that in your mind, and even maybe envision, like you're so addicted to soda, you start envisioning spiders in your fucking soda, and you drink it, and you're getting spiders and everything like that. So all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, that soda, I do not want. And then you start to be able to see something crawl across the ground and be like, let's transfer that fear and focus it over here. So now we're gonna help you essentially use it to get rid of an addiction.
Holy shit! Okay. This is so interesting that you're bringing this up, because I read a book, and actually Shauna's the one that showed me this book. It's called I Can Make You Skinny. Okay. And they give this technique, and it was basically if you have an addiction to a food that you just can't resist, then picture that, and it takes you like through this almost like meditation process of seeing this food with something on it that you hate. Ugh, and so at the time, I was like, I'm going to try this with Little Caesars pizza, because I was eating a lot of pizza at the time. I used to love Little Caesars, and I don't now. And I went through this whole process of seeing it with sardines on it, because I hate fish. Sardines are the most disgusting fish. And so like I imagined that whole thing, and it took me through this whole process, and I don't like Little Caesars anymore.
Beautiful.
So it's exactly what you were saying, and I've honestly never thought about it that way. But you could do that. You can do that with anything.
Anything. You can use to leverage it, because every emotion is energy.
It's power.
It's power.
Yeah.
And it's how you approach that energy. Are you trying to suppress it and, resist it and everything else, which causes pain and builds up? No, you have to let that flow through you. You got to come up with,
and channel it.
And channel it. Yeah. And channel it and be like, oh, okay, no, sit in it, feel it, like really kind of just immerse yourself in it in a lot of ways, but then start to channel it. How can I use this for me? And so like I'm going to use appreciation again. I appreciate my fears now. So as a fear comes in, I'm going to appreciate that fear. Like here's another example. You got a fear of, oh hell, I lost my job, everything else, money's not coming in. You have a fear of losing your house. And you're like, oh my God, I love this house. My kids love this house, everything. Now all of a sudden that fear of losing your house, and you got to let that flow through you. And now you're going to switch it, and you're going to leverage it, and you're going to switch it to appreciation to, if I lose my house, I get a whole new experience. I get to go find something else. I get to maybe even downsize and learn how to live a true minimalist life, and learn to, dive into more joy and, interest and love and everything else, and not be so worried about bills and having to pay for this place, So you channel it in a different way. You let that energy flow in, and, probably 9 times out of 10, when you're in more joy and everything else, you're going to find something that interests you, and there's going to be abundance coming in numerous ways, and you're most likely going to have enough money to even pay for the house. Yeah. So it's switching the emotion, channeling that fear into something else that you can find and you can use, you can leverage as something positive. It's very...
That's a huge fucking unlock, because
big.
What we do is we suppress it.
Oh yeah.
And this is ultimately what we're talking about, is integration of your darkness.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Fear, sadness, we take them and we push them away,
hide from
rather than channeling it. And it seems simple, like sitting here talking about it, but we don't do it.
No, we don't. And we do. We need to take time to, when something comes in, you got a thought that, and that fear starts to resonate, and that thought is coming in. If you just take a minute and just kind of even deep breaths, just the whole contraction and expansion of even breathing in, breathing out, and literally start to kind of feel that energy flow through you, and know that energy. Appreciate it. Yeah, really. Just dig into it for a minute.
It's power.
It is power. And now, how do I leverage this? What do I need to do? And maybe you can't come up with something right away. So what do you do? Like, go on a walk. Go on a walk, and as you walk, find every single thing that, like, find amazement in something. Like, suddenly look at a tree. My God, that tree is, I never noticed that before. That's an amazing tree. Like, you're taking your mind off it, but then you're going to start channeling it in a different way. And maybe this fear, maybe it was fear of, drowning or something like that. And now all of a sudden you're walking down the street and you see a creek. And you see the energy flowing through that creek. You see the rocks, the trees that are pulling from that water, and how much they appreciate it. And just look at things in amazement. Yeah. Have gratitude for everything outside, the sun, everything. So that everything you're gaining and experiencing just in nature really can help, start to now you can come back even to that thought and go, okay, I didn't have something before, but now all of a sudden
you've shifted your perspective.
Exactly. Completely shifted your perspective. And all of a sudden you might just come upon something, so like kind of a crazy example is in a roundabout way, where a guy is just so afraid of how he's going to, increase his business and whatnot. Yeah. He hires a coach, and his coach says, come meet me at this park. And he sits down with the coach on the bench, and, and the coach starts saying, hey, how things going? How do you feel today? And he started, God, I need to make more money. I'm stressed out about work and this. I probably should be home working. He's like, but I do like the fact that I'm sitting here on this bench and it is nice weather outside. And he's like, yeah, so tap into the enjoyment of that, just being out here. Take a small time out and just sit.
Get present.
Yeah. And he's like, look around. What is it that you would like to do? Just what would excite you right now? What is something that you would find joy in? And he's like, well, sitting here is really nice, but there's a bunch of swans over there in the pond. I'd like to maybe go over there and feed them or something like that. You know, oh shit, I'd probably want to take my shirt off and jump in the water or something like that. That would be kind of fun. It'd be kind of exciting, different. I might get looked at weirdly in the park here, And he's like, all right, those are great things. Well, what do you want to do? Do it. Just let yourself go. Just go. Do whatever excites you and you find joy in right now. And he's like, oh, no, I can't do that. I probably need to really get home and, focus on work. There's a lot there. And he's like, I'm telling you, just follow your joy. Just even for a minute. Give it 5 minutes. Okay, so he gets up, he walks over, he starts feeding the swans, and then shortly thereafter, a woman walks up. A woman walks up and she starts feeding the swans with him, and she starts talking to him and strikes up a conversation and everything else. Next thing he knows, they've now talking about business, everything else. This woman happens to have 9,000 clients or employees that he can have 100%, and he gained all those. So within 5 minutes of doing something he enjoyed, that he found his excitement,
he raised his vibration.
And
brought in something that he didn't even know existed before he raised his vibration, because he wasn't on a frequency.
Exactly.
Because joy raised his vibration.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
What are we, 10 minutes in? You're already blowing my fucking mind.
So it's just basic things. And Chase, that's what you do so well as a coach. You don't even maybe realize at times how you open up people's minds. You brought awareness to me in ways that blew my mind, dude.
Yeah, dude, I fucking love that, because it's been cool. Like, especially like when I met you, you were in a certain place.
I was in a dark spot. Honestly. Yeah,
and
it really was.
And it was really cool to be able to help you. And honestly, like I felt like I was lifting you up in a sense. And
you were, dude.
To be honest with you,
totally were.
At this point in my life, we're hanging out on a pretty regular basis. We've become best friends so quickly, and it's cool because then we have these conversations, and every time we do, you blow my fucking mind. And now I feel like you're fucking pulling me up, bro. And this is the fucking beautiful side of brotherhood.
Exactly.
Having brothers that are on a similar path.
Yeah.
that clearly we've lived past lives together. We've fucking done this before. We know that. We get together with our brothers, and this isn't some sort of group where there's a leader that everyone's worshiping and following. This is a group of men that are constantly leveling up, and when they level up, they're reaching their hand down to bring their brothers up with them. And we've seen it over and over and over, and it's been so fucking clear, especially in yours and I's relationship, and I'm so fucking grateful for it, dude, because like right now in my life, like you're teaching me so much shit that is helping me, like even just the past few weeks, dude, I feel like you fucking changed my life, and you got me out of a dark place.
Well, that's what we do. We help each other out.
That's what we
fucking everyone do in the group. And it's such a beautiful give and take and then give back again.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's everyone is just contributes in such amazing ways. Like I gained so much knowledge just from you. Zach, Cody, all the experiences I've had with all you guys. The fact that you brought this group together, that's why I'm so appreciative of you. I mean, I appreciate the shit out of you and all the guys that I've been now able to bring into my life, and the vibration is just fucking nuts to me.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and the things I'm doing and experiencing, I mean, I never thought in a million years I would even do. Like just my, oh my gosh, my relation to nature, how nature just suddenly resonates in such a way, just this harmonic resonance that I can't even describe at times. And it was really you guys that brought me to that point. I mean, that one weekend between you and Bruce, 2 nights in a row.
Which weekend?
That one weekend where we're at my house, both nights, 2 nights in a row. The night of 4/19 and 4/20, I'll never fucking forget it. Okay, those 2 nights, you remember that? So April 19th, Friday night, it was just you and Shauna that came over.
Oh, yes. And then we went to the wedding the next night, and we stopped by.
And then you came over
a little bit later.
And we had that big party on 4/20. But dude, so much happened in just that 48. Hell, I mean, the 24-hour. Just crazy from night to night. It changed my life in a way that I cannot even begin to explain. Suddenly, just boom! It hit me like a ton of bricks. Like a fucking light out of the sky, dude. And that's the other thing, too. I've been tapping into how so many things. I'm on this journey. I mean, my mind is blown by the amount of shit I learn on a daily basis. The amount of shit that even comes to me.
We call you Dustin the computer because the way you ingest information is crazy to me.
Oh, dude.
It's so cool because, like, you ingest so much, like, for the whole group. And then you come and you teach it to us in ways that we don't think of because your mind works a little bit different than ours.
See, and I don't
and
think
it's just
it
like
does.
such an amazing perspective for all of us,
Yeah, and at times I just don't think I'm not any different. All I'm doing is I'm taking, because you guys have taught me so much, and I take that and I'll go down some rabbit holes here and there, but then all that I like want to feel it. It's like I pull that energy out of you guys in a roundabout way, which you're offering, you're giving it to me. So then I feel that those. And it's all these things through sound frequencies, light frequencies, everything, and you're learning about the photons and phonons, and how that energy is exchanged between us.
Yeah.
And how we're all interconnected. And like even when we were down there in San Rafael Swells, that campsite, dude, it was trippy as fuck for me.
It was like
amazing.
The most fucking magical night I've ever had, apart from some nights that I've had with my woman, which will never be eclipsed. But as far as like, bro, energy you can't explain what we had happen that night. It was like every guy fully fucking came online.
Completely.
And we're not even a year into this group. We're going to be doing this for the next 50 years.
Oh, dude, it just
gets better and better.
Yeah.
And it's just been so fucking cool. And for me, like there's been a huge shift since that of like, and there was a lot that you unlocked for me on that trip of like really just following my joy and realizing that I have no reason other than my own mind to just follow my joy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
My external circumstances do not get to dictate the way that I feel.
Right.
The way that I feel dictates my external what am I trying to say? my external reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. So that just keep it as basic as that. Joy and interest. Joy and desire.
Yeah.
What is it that that brings you joy and that you find interest in? And that could be ever changing too.
Right.
But that's why you take it, hour by hour, day by day, be in the present, finding those options. Because you could have many options at any given time, even during the day. But what is it? Hone in on what brings you joy and interest. And I like the word desire almost more than want, because there's a love to it. There's love in desire. Yeah. So there's that. And so what is it? And we always talk about, and that's the other thing, is coming back to appreciation. Even as I'm sitting there in the day and I might have options that I can choose from, and I'm trying to find the one that really helps me tap into that joy, interest, desire of what I want to go do, for whether it's for the day, for the next week, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then at the same time going that, oh yeah, this really interests me. I'm going to dig into this and this is going to be fun. And at the same time having that appreciation of, man, I really desire everything I have. I appreciate, want, desire everything I already have. And now that's going to turn from, I'm going to get the things I desire.
Right.
Now I can have those things I desire. Yeah. So that little statement that we've kind of run around a few times.
That was a huge unlock for me too. When you said that, you said, desire the things that you have so that you can have the things that you desire.
Exactly. It's so critical.
Because it all starts from the inside. And if you're not appreciating what you have, then you can't get more of it.
Right. You can't.
Because what we're focusing on is what expands in our reality.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Absolutely. It's just how the way we work. It's just how the way the frequency works.
Yeah.
So.
And dude, I've been diving deep into some frequencies, sound, light frequencies. Terrence Howard has another thing out that just fucking blew my mind the other day, dude. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you want to. I can just ramble and jump into shit all over the place.
That's what we're here for, bro.
Okay,
that's what we're here for.
So yeah, I mean, what's so fucking cool is how he has unlocked things that we just have never even seen, or honestly are probably being hidden in a roundabout way. Yeah. There's other guys in the past that he even references and leverages that have tried to bring some of these key elements and these truths and universal concepts out that have been completely suppressed. And one of the biggest ones that's just so fucking cool to me, how he put everything together for me. So you know how I've talked about the Fibonacci sequence and that mathematical anomaly and how it's everywhere.
Explain that a little bit. Explain that Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, so the Fibonacci sequence it's like this mathematical anomaly that exists in literally everything here, in nature, in art, music. That's the biggest thing, is in music, which we'll get to, these sound frequencies.
It's almost like a building block of the universe.
It's a building block, yes. Yeah. It's how things, like when they grow in a way that's like symmetrical or really appeasing to the eye.
Okay.
Like in a roundabout way, our higher selves and God, when we created this reality, we created this place to come to, we wanted things to abide by a specific rule in a roundabout way. That almost
because they kind of have to, right?
They kind of have
to have the experience this reality. Yeah.
So the Fibonacci sequence is like in nature, when you look at something as a flower, it grows and it spirals out, and with every turn of that spiral, it kind of compounds, and so it grows in a way to where now it's very pleasing to the eye. Okay, so even in art, when artists draw art, I mean, even like the Mona Lisa, they didn't know anything about the Fibonacci sequence way back then. They just knew about these, like thirds, break up art in thirds, and where do I put my focus point, and then how do I draw out from there? And even just by looking at the human body, how things, even what's crazy is because the Fibonacci sequence exists in everything. Like the measurement even from your nose to your belly button is going to be tied in some kind of Fibonacci sequence code.
Okay, yeah.
So everything, how you grow and how things, even just the gaps between your fingers, everything, it's just amazing how things grow in this reality based upon that anomaly. And
as
it
if,
works in
as if we're in a simulation computer program that was abiding by that rule.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything has to kind of follow that rule in a roundabout way. And from an expansion and contraction perspective.
Yeah.
So the same thing like in markets, how we use the Fibonacci retracement. We use the Fibonacci numbers to know when markets go up, emotions and do things and where we sell or whatever else. Now we're going to have that pullback, and you're coming to key levels. So there's a thing called the golden ratio in the Fibonacci sequence. It's a specific number, 1.618. And so that 618 number, 0.618, 1.618, 2.618, you can leverage in how markets will go to. And we call it the golden pocket in when you're trading. So when we go up, as we start to, exhaust, essentially buying, and sellers start coming into the market we know a lot of times you're going to retrace to the golden pocket. At least that golden pocket gets hit a lot.
Yeah.
So, and it's that.
So then you can short it at least down to that point. And
exactly. Based upon what the trend is going.
Yeah.
So then once you've identified the trend, whether it's up or down, those retracements hit that, 618 and even 50% or the 786 level. All these Fibonacci numbers they're just remarkable. Well, even Tesla was tapping into some Fib numbers and on how everything works even in the universe. Those universal numbers of 369 even. And how they play out in fucking everything, dude.
Yeah.
In religion, it's nuts how things were created here on Earth. So, and we can go real deep on this, but so essentially that Fibonacci code is it's everywhere. It's in nature, it's in trees, how flowers, how everything kind of is developed, and it's even in human emotion on buying and selling. So it's it's everywhere. It surrounds us. We could go for days on that, but now you start to dive into kind of how Terrence Howard, has really kind of reframed, our universe as a whole, how it was created, how it can be further created, how it can expand and contract. But his latest stuff is how sound is literally the basis of all creation. It's the fundamental thing that creates
frequency.
Yeah. So everything so energy is essentially, there is a frequency to everything. How the world even came together is actually through frequency. And what's crazy about this is we're finding that even in religion when they talk about it. Like you talk about how even the Christians, they talk about how, the world was created by the word of God, sound, okay? Yeah. The Hindus talk about how the world was created by an om. They talk about om and how that humming and that sound frequency. You got the Egyptians that said it was a song. The world was created by a song.
Yeah.
The song came out, and that's how matter was formed. And you got the Aborigines, which is really fucking cool. They said the world was created by 3 sacred songs, which then you got the number 3, which taps into the Holy Trinity and taps into other key things in the other 2 religions. And then you got 6, which taps into the 6 days of creation, which they all kind of, so you got the 6 days of creation by the Christians, you got the, there's like 6 ratios of what Horus, the all-seeing eye, and the creation of the eye in the Egyptian building blocks. You got the 6 ohm like tones or something like that that the Hindus. It's fucking
interesting.
It starts to really to all kind of come together in all these different forms, and so it's just fucking nuts to me. And how now originally we were taught that the universe was electromagnetic. Well, electromagnetic is just by spinning and vibration. Well, in reality, it's magnetoelectric, which leverages sound frequencies. And so the sound frequencies, now they're just barely finding this shit out.
Yeah.
And so all these sound frequencies and sound alone, which they can now, it fucking does everything across the board. And we're so suppressed by it. So sound can, boil water. It can heal the body. So
which we're starting to learn, right?
Exactly.
The healing properties of sound. We've just barely tapped into
it. Well, there's crazy enough. There's a TED Talk by a dude in 2011 that has like a multiple wave oscillator, which also was created like in the late 1800s by another dude who even, and then like, oh crap, early 1900s, healed his dad of quadriplegia.
Did he get killed by the government?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
I'm sure he disappeared.
Got suppressed somehow.
Yeah. I mean, just crazy stuff. It cured quadriplegia. The guy was a quadriplegic.
Interesting.
Yeah. Within 4 weeks, this guy was on crutches again. Walked out of the hospital within 6. So, and all he came in and was sound. He had a little tiny multiple wave oscillator that he's running the sound up and down his dad's spine. Okay, and then he does a little bit of light, and we'll get to the light part and how that all ties together. Right before I jumped off that tangent. Oh yeah, so sound can do fucking everything, dude. It boils water. It literally can create fire and extinguish fire. It can extinguish fire seconds, rapidly. A sound frequency, and they have the technology today that they will not allow because money.
Is this how they set Maui on fire?
Oh, absolutely.
Probably sound waves.
Because sound controls. It 100% controls the weather.
Yeah.
They have sound type objects that can create tornadoes, they can create hurricanes, can twist them the other direction.
Huh.
And that has recently happened where there's been a dude like, what the hell? Something they found, like a small hurricane that all of a sudden was going the other way, which has never happened. They said it's impossible. It can't happen, especially this side of the hemisphere. So sound, and there's a guy even I found him on YouTube or something that has a little device. There's a fire going off. It doesn't matter what the fire is. He points that at the fire, puts out this sound frequency. It's gone.
Really?
Instantly.
Huh.
Yeah. So, and sound, the way it heals our body, and what's so crazy is now all these sound frequencies, and that's really what attract us to each other. So the law of attraction is technically a sound frequency that we're putting out.
Yeah.
So, because we want to attract others like us.
Right.
Okay. So it's a frequency that goes out. And what it does when we come together and all our frequencies are vibrating at the same time, or even you can take it in relation to, like, say we got together and maybe years ago we were together hanging out, we're all boys, and we listened to a song. And that song just resonates with us. Oh, it was our favorite song. We would do these things, that. And so you remember that songs are a big thing that, like, later in life, all of a sudden that song comes on and you remember that, how cool that was and how fun that was that night with those boys. And so when your sound frequency comes together, either with new or even old, and even if that song comes on and you're starting to dance, move, hey man, remember that, your DNA tightens. It tightens and it locks stuff out. And so what's crazy about sound can purify water. It literally can purify the air.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is how we breathe air. We don't realize the oxygen we take in and what we take in through the air is shit. Yeah. And we actually would not live if it's our lungs, and the inhaling create a frequency that energizes the oxygen. That as it enters our lungs, now our lungs and our body can leverage it and pass it into our bloodstream and use the oxygen better, where it's all done through a frequency. So these sound frequencies, and what's crazy about it, and I'll start tapping into other things. So sound is kind of the base. It's the basic fundamental for all creation, and it's how planets come together.
Right.
He proved it, how Saturn comes together. But then you have a sound frequency that equates to a light frequency in the visual form. But you got to take the sound frequency and you have to double it so many times until you tap into the visual spectrum, and all of a sudden that lines up with a color.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. You take the color visual, or you take the visual spectrum, and you divide it by 2 until it lines up. So now you see how both sides line up. So you have a sound that is directly related to a color.
Directly correlated.
Yeah. And then at the same thing in the middle of all that, you got all the elements, the periodic table that he proved, and he shows it how it flows and everything, like even with it leveraging even the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
And so how, like, hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. 99% of the universe is made up of hydrogen.
Yeah.
And so hydrogen now directly correlates to a sound frequency and a light frequency. They all start to line up. and every element has its own, sound and color and everything. And then how you leverage them all together is now, dude, you can do anything with it. Yeah. So to the point where you can leverage sound frequency to cloak yourself. This is how the aliens do it. You know how you see like it looks invisible?
Yeah.
Like you can almost
like there's a cloak.
Yeah, they cloak. Yeah. Sound frequency will cloak. We can even leverage it to cloak ourselves.
So we got to learn how to do that.
I know. Yeah. The healing properties are insane. Yeah. What you can do with sound frequency.
It seems like we're as a race really tapping into like the sound. I've seen like sound healing beds now. Yes.
And Zach's already jumping on this. He already kind of has. He's got some little devices he was talking to me about. I'm like, dude, you got to share this shit. Yeah. So he's got stuff he's leveraging already to help, and sound will help essentially decalcify the pineal gland. Yeah. And those frequencies that flow through us. And all these different hertz. So cancer can 100% be cured. This TED Talk guy shows how cancer can be cured. Not only the guy already did it in the early 1900s, late 1800s. There's a new guy today, TED Talk, goes on the TED Talk, shows them how this sound frequency leveraged between 100,000 hertz and 300,000 hertz completely destroys these they implode. He shows it live in a petri dish, everything. Run that frequency through, they just implode. Cure cancer, cure paralysis. You got a mental disease, heal the brain. I mean, you name it. Decalcify the pineal gland. Yeah. Everything else, which they are actively doing everything they can to fucking suppress that, decalcify that. That's why, so there's some crazy
because the pineal gland is our connection to the spirit world. Ultimately, it's our connection to our higher self. And if we have that connection, then we can really flow with the universe and therefore free ourselves from all the things that are keeping us back from living the exact life that we want.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. And what's so cool about it, it has the complete and utter ability to tap into all those sound frequencies and light frequencies. And it knows how to leverage those from every aspect. But when it's calcified or being, essentially, we got pollutants in there, things attacking it, everything else, it can't operate at its most optimal, version of itself. So that's why the more you do that, it's easier to meditate. It's easier. So that's through nutrition, meditation, getting in the sun, what they call sun gazing, water.
Water's huge.
Water's the big thing. And water, dude, I've learned a whole bunch of crazy new shit about water. Dude, just nuts stuff about that. And how sound can literally purify our water, do things. And so here's what's really cool about water. So have you ever noticed how a cat will not drink or just water that's been sitting?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, maybe right at first, right out it comes out of the tap, they'll drink it. After it's been sitting for a time, the cat's like, I am not drinking that no matter what. Yeah. But if you turn the faucet on and it flows, they'll drink out of that. If the toilet swirls, they'll jump up there and dive in trying to get some of that. So what's crazy about that is they're so in tune with how water works. And our entire water system is built not only from the perspective of getting radiation and fluoride in it to make us sick and essentially primarily attack the pineal gland.
Right.
But the way it flows, if you see water in nature, when it flows through a creek and a river, around rocks, there's always a swirling technique, okay? So that's the thing that Terrence Howard really hits on. Straight lines do not exist in nature. Everything. So frequencies, sound waves, light waves, everything is a bend. Everything is a wave, whether it's fast, slow, big, wide. Right. So as water flows, and it even will create vortexes at times that swirl both ways. Yeah. It's breaking up the molecular structure of the water and keeping it in a way to where when you take it in, it is way more usable by the body. So what happens in our houses and in our water system where there's 90-degree turns and stuff, it sits. And it will wad up at a molecular structure, and sometimes it'll catch other things coming through and sit the key elements of the water at the molecular level that we need. So we're getting a lot of like minerals, anything else like that, even though there's not much minerals, and there's a whole thing I got to get into, but it sits in those clumps in these 90-degree turns, and even when it flows through the faucet, it's better but it's still like shit water.
Yeah, interesting.
So when water sits, it literally it starts to clump in there. So when you drink it, you get things in a way to where your body can't utilize it as much. It's really crazy. So the new thing is, so now you got multiple things. This is the thing I learned recently. So one guy, and I can't remember his name, I can't give him credit, but he said that
swirl my water every time you drink it.
Exactly. Exactly. So here's where you go. He says you need to be drinking distilled water. He's like, unfortunately, you got to take distilled water. It's because the only reason why we got to go distilled is because reverse osmosis can get fluoride out. It can't get radiation out.
Okay.
So we need to buy our water distilled, which I've always gotten vapor distilled from Water Specialties for decades. But then that is essentially dead water.
Right.
It's aggressive water. So what you have to do to it, and I have these ionic trace minerals, and I'll show you. You take the minerals, you can drop it in there, and you can take a pinch of salt per gallon.
Okay.
And you took those pinches in there, but you have to swirl it.
Okay.
And you got to go both ways. Create the vortex. That literally like brings the water to life. So even if you do it in your big jug, after a time in your thing, it doesn't. Now when you got water on top, like if you bought that stand and you put the big jug of water on top, the bubbles will do certain things to help kind of swirl it, but over time it sits.
Yeah.
So it'll start to clump again. So when you take water into like your water bottle or whatever, so what I've been doing as of late, just testing this out. So I take a pinch of salt, I put it in there, put a couple drops of ionic minerals, then I put a mixer in there, and it spins it real fast one way, and then I go the other way with it.
Okay.
And dude, you drink the water like that, dude, you're going to start feeling something you've never felt.
Really?
Yeah, and literally feel it going down. Like literally just like tap into it. Like really focus on it and what it's doing for your body now. And you can feel it energize you more. Like I suddenly feel more energized by water.
You can pull the energy out of it.
Pull the energy out. And now it simulates better. And did you know they still have no idea how water gets into the cell?
I did not know that.
The cell has a pump for every other kind of mineral, hormone, I mean, you name it under the sun. Has nothing for water. So they don't know how, and they're also trying to figure out when you get cut, you only see blood, even though, their H2O flows into your bloodstream to a degree. You're made up of 70% water. You never leak water, unless you're kind of sweating or something like that. But when you're cut, you do not leak water. You're cutting through millions of cells. So what they're finding is water turns into a crystalline, like a jelly, and by sound, it forms somatic geometry. So just like the snowflake, just like how every snowflake's different. And you take a snowflake and so sound manifests in the physical form in every aspect. You take that soundboard, put sand on top of it, boom. Based upon the sound frequency going through there, that board bounces around, which is a really other cool thing because how religion started leveraging crosses in a lot of way. Even Native Americans, Aborigines. I can't say that word now. Aborigines. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Mixing Arabs and so they manifest. There's always like a centerpiece, a source of the sound, and there's some form of a cross. So when you look at, it builds these somatic geometry shapes and patterns. Yeah. And so it does the same thing. So the sound, so even as snowflakes fall, there is a frequency that's moving through it that creates that pattern. Yeah. So it's really fucking cool. So the same thing happens as you breathe, as you ingest water. There's all these different things are happening. There's these frequencies that are happening to make things more, usable, more so that you can essentially really kind of tap into the true energy of those things. Okay, so there was one other piece I was going. Oh, so dude, it just goes crazy like this for me. So with even sound and light, all the different things you can do together with them. Sound is generally, those sound frequencies come first, would manifest in all kinds of, creative ways. And you can leverage everything in this universe from sound. So then you got the light aspect of it that ties into every sound frequency. Yeah. And then how to leverage that light. for other things, healing, the whole 9 yards, to where even like Corey Good was like, you know who Corey Good is? He's a dude that has interactions with aliens. Okay. Yeah, so he's always, he seems legit, but sometimes he might embellish a little bit. But
yeah, sure.
You know, he gets pulled into different places like Inner Earth, you know, and he's got a relationship with these guys. He's tapping into them, and so boom, there's light. There's light in there. And he's like, how is there so much light in there? It's like a sun inside. And they're like, it's the sound frequency that generates that light. Wow. So that we can leverage it and see in here, and also gives us different, like vitamins, like the sun gives you vitamin D. This gives us different minerals and things that we utilize. Okay. You have to have light. You have to have sound. You have to have light for everything, you know? Yeah. So it's really fucking trippy. So one really cool thing, and where I've really started to get into, we need to eat more honey. You know, I've already told you honey's good for you.
I've started eating more honey for sure, especially with my kefir every day. So I've like felt like I need more honey for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, honey is a remarkable thing. You know, they found pots of honey in Egyptian temples.
Yeah.
Everything, break it open, still 100% good.
Really?
Yeah. So honey, it cannot, microbes, bacteria, nothing can form in it. Well, what they've recently figured out is it's essentially sound frequency that creates the honey, that the bee's wings. So when a bee goes and pulls the pollen out of a flower, and he goes into his hive, the flapping of all those wings together creates, so the sound actually creates that hexagonal shape, those little hexagon, the honeycomb looking things.
So the frequency coming off of their wings is essentially creating that snowflake
effect. Yeah. And then at the same time, as they're vomiting up the honey essentially into those combs, as the frequency, it purifies it in a way and preserves it to where it cannot be touched, dude. Wow. It's the most purest, and it can give all kinds of nutrients, good bacteria. Fungus can't touch it. Nothing can touch it.
Wow.
It's pretty remarkable how that all even works. So yeah, I mean, when you hear about bees going away and how the world will end in a roundabout way, they're doing way more than we even think. But honey's just one thing, but even the sound frequency they create through the air. They say that a bee essentially is helping purify the air. It's helping purify nature and
purify the frequency of the world. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So all these things are happening.
So they're like frequency hosts.
Yes,
basically.
Fucking crazy, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's just.
So we gotta have bees on our off-grid community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a whole host of things. Yeah, we have to tap into, and like it's. So like this appreciation for nature and how it works and everything else.
Okay. I want to talk about that then.
Go ahead.
Too.
Yeah.
You've recently had this unlock with your connection to nature.
Oh, yeah, dude.
What started that, and what have you been doing?
Yeah.
So, because this is so fascinating to me. I've been trying it a little bit. I need to try it some more, but tell me about your experience.
So, I think two things there that'll help you kind of get you there too. So that weekend I spent with you guys, and Bruce introduced me to this book. By Frederick Dodson. Yeah. So the Parallel Universes of Self.
Yeah, amazing fucking book. If you haven't picked it up, pick it up. Yeah. I'm only on like chapter 7, but everything this guy says is just resonating so much with me, and it's just unbelievable. Like, it's unlocking a lot of shit for me. For sure.
Unfucking believable. Yeah, it blows my mind. Every chapter, my mind is blown, and it gets better and better all the time. Yeah. The guy's brilliant. I would love to fucking meet the guy more than anything. So. In that book, he goes over so many concepts, and his pure technique, the parallel universe reality emulation, is just phenomenal. And it's the first thing that I was able to just boom. It instantly resonated. It instantly allowed me to meditate in a fashion where I never ever even thought about it.
Yeah.
And that deep meditation, that 0 point state, is one other thing that they really say helps the pineal gland. Really kind of break through some things, tap into other frequencies, things like that. So that's where I feel like I suddenly kind of had this weird breakthrough where I was sitting in my living room just days after that weekend.
Yeah.
I bought that book immediately, and I just started pounding through it, dude. I couldn't set it down. And I'm going back. I'm still going back through it.
Yeah.
I still haven't even finished it because I'm so just, entrenched in every
There's
chapter.
so much information.
So much information.
Yeah.
So as I really started to kind of dive into this deep meditation and then be able to pull myself out, to observe myself, this whole becoming the observer is the whole key element. I never thought it was even possible, but suddenly I just had this belief, man, this guy can do it. I can for sure do this shit.
Yeah.
So it's all of a sudden I feel myself literally, it's like you're disconnected, but you're connected. You're even more so connected.
Yeah.
And you're observing yourself, and you can almost move around and see yourself meditating, see what you're seeing, what you're doing, how you're feeling, how you're breathing, and tapping into those breaths, the expansion and the contraction, which is male and female, and you're feeling all of this. Suddenly you're an entity that is like this light being. You're so fucking light, so that thing I started to really kind of play around with. I mean, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
I started doing this. And then when he gets into how everything is conscious, everything, and you can tap into other consciousness. So everything has a vibration, and you can tune yourself, and you can feel those things. And so immediately I'm out in my backyard, and suddenly I just have this appreciation and this amazement of trees.
Yeah.
Like suddenly I've never seen trees like I've seen them before. It's like suddenly like, where have these been? Like all my life. These things are so alive.
Yeah.
And they're just so fucking amazing. And and they're strong, and they're powerful, and yet so calm.
Yeah.
And so it was. Now I'm down there, and I'm just constantly, I'm looking at this one tree. I'm looking at it, I'm just constantly, and I could almost like feel the tree just like observing me back. Like he was looking right at me, looking at my soul. There's this energy that flows between me and that tree. Now, every time I walk by it, I can feel it.
Interesting.
Dude, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm feeling things. Even my eyes are open, I'm feeling it, and I want to touch it. And so I'm feeling the tree, I'm holding the tree. And the breath in and out, like I'm feeling how I expel the carbon dioxide.
Your connection to it.
My connection to it, and it is taking that in and giving oxygen back to me. And suddenly that tree, that appreciation, that tree even has for me of what I'm giving it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, but you're giving me so much more. You have no, you're detoxifying my air, my water, my soil. I mean, it's amazing. I did not realize. And so this appreciation for this tree I was in amazement. So then I was like, I am determined to get inside this. Everything is consciousness. I've been a tree before, so I know.
Yeah.
I know I can.
You can remember.
I can remember. I can do this. So as I'm sitting there, and I did it standing at first, but then I finally just had to kind of sit down. And at first I'm facing the tree, and I had to close my eyes and really kind of tap in. I'm just breathing. And you go to like the 0 point, you get to that 0 point meditative state.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, dude, I'm like seeing myself observe the tree. And I'm just kind of third person there. Yeah. And I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden you like kind of, like it's almost like it pulls you in. Like the tree wants you to come in.
Yeah, it wants you to understand it.
It wants you to understand it. It wants you to feel its appreciation even for you and life and everything around it. Even though this world is fucking things up, everything, it's still just the love and appreciation it has for us. And then, dude, when you enter that fucker, suddenly, like you feel your legs like almost burst through the ground, through like these roots. And they're strong, and they're grabbing onto things, and they're doing things, and they're pulling
nutrients and pulling water.
Exactly. And they're communicating.
Yeah.
They're communicating to other trees and other plants and everything else. And as you feel, you kind of come up, that the roots were first, and then the pillar, like through my core, all of a sudden that trunk of that tree, I feel so fucking strong through my core, and I can feel it breathing with me. And it's like in big, just like these these big, slow motions. And then all of a sudden you feel like your arms grow and your fingers break out. And the branches, dude, you feel so fucking strong. Like you start to break and you feel like you grow through it. Yeah. Like you feel like the growing process that happened for over many years, but now you're rapidly going through it. You feel it, and you feel the aspects, and then as you branch out, and you like feel how strong the fucking tree is, and how much love and appreciation it has for every living creature, the plants around it, the water, the air in the sky, even the pollutants, how it's sucking that in and just fucking detoxifying shit, and then all of a sudden you feel like you remember you love how the birds land in your branches, and you feel them on you, like the squirrels that run along. You love supporting them.
Yeah.
You like to feel their energy and how much they appreciate you. It's so fucking amazing, dude. Like I've never felt anything like it. It was so trippy that I was just like, dude, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. So I mean, it really just so now trees I walk around just looking at trees everywhere. I just admire every tree.
Completely different than the way you used to see them.
Yeah. Me and Helena are walking around in Bountiful last night, and I'm seeing these trees, and I'm like, what the hell happened to their bark? Like all of a sudden the bark's off all these trees, and I'm just like, and they're a walnut tree like the tree in my backyard. And I'm like, this is odd. But I still had this appreciation for it, but I almost felt like they were sick in a way. Like, I'm like, the energy's a little different here. I don't know what's going on, but, I wanted to just kind of tap into one, but I was with Helena, and I didn't want to be like, hey, sit here for an hour. And she's like, oh, Christ, here we go. The trees again. No, she's extremely supportive. She's amazing. But yeah, dude, but it was really crazy. And I was like literally concerned.
How long did it take you to get into this tree? Like, were you?
Took a few days, really.
Okay.
So
So you put some effort into it.
I put some effort into it because I'd go out there every day, multiple times a day.
Okay.
Once I went out there and just felt the energy, and I almost felt like it was looking at me. Like it sees me, it feels me, it appreciates me. I fucking appreciate the shit out of this tree. Like, and then the others around it, this one it just resonated really well with me, so I really got to tap into him. And the others around are like supportive. Yeah. It's like they're there to like, the one guy's like, this is my brother. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's so crazy.
And I've thought about that a lot. Like, and it's interesting because I've only been thinking about this like the past like probably 6 months of like, what would it be like to live your next life as a tree? How would that feel?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you come out with this, and I'm like,
dude, that's so trippy.
I'm gonna figure it out. I haven't put much effort into it. I've done it like a little bit, but it's not been more than like a few minutes.
Yeah.
And so I need to find the right tree. I think that's
Absolutely.
what it is for me.
I think that too. You really have to find something. It just locks you in. It just pulls your attention in. Yeah. Like all of a sudden you're just like, oh my, I haven't even noticed it. Like there it is in my backyard. I've never really paid attention to it, and all of a sudden I had so much attention on it.
Yeah.
Every time I would go into the kitchen, I'm looking out the window. I have to walk out on the deck. I'd look at it. I mean, it's like I'm communicating with it.
That's
I'm
so
just
cool.
checking in on it, and he's looking at me, and it is. It's in a lot of ways.
You have a relationship with it now, which is so cool.
Cool. Yeah, so cool. And when you're in it, like it's like a memory. You remember, like, suddenly these feelings race through your like soul, like, and you can like, and like I can see myself down there in the ground as I'm growing up, and then all of a sudden you realize you can like see 360 degrees. That's what's trippy. It's like it's a see, but yet you feel everything. But you can like focus your vision on whatever you want,
your
but
awareness.
at the same time you can your awareness. You're so fucking aware.
That's so cool.
So tapped into everything, and you get like the air, everything as things move through your branches, the air, which creates a frequency.
Yeah.
And so you leverage the frequencies too. That's how you even pull in pollutants out of the air, like how things are, like how your leaves are even shaped, which create a flow to them and a rhythm and a frequency.
It's so interesting.
Pay attention to sound everywhere you go.
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued by it now. like more so songs suddenly have way more meaning.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. And it's crazy how different forms of music will form different shapes.
Yeah.
Like you'll see like heavy metal, it forms kind of a just a little more distorted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's why what you consume is so important. Because it is actually distorting your cells in a particular way that you want to make sure that's why I think like I've tried to shift my focus over the past like 6 months to I try and listen to, like, especially when I'm anxious, I listen to classical music.
Good.
Even though I don't necessarily love, it's not like my favorite type of music to listen to. I have grown a big appreciation for it because it calms me.
Yeah.
But I just noticed, like, and there's a lot of studies on it too. Classical music just does so much good.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just a frequency that's coming in that's actually creating a harmony within.
Exactly. Very harmonic resonance, absolutely to it. Yeah, that's why a lot of people that would play that classical music and stuff for their infants.
Yeah,
and how they just growing tap up super into smart. It. Exactly, how they tap into it, how they look around, they observe things differently.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I remember doing that even to Jaden as a little baby,
really?
just to see.
Yeah,
they had this baby Beethoven thing that I bought for both my kids, and just how like cool it was to even see him lay like that and do things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jaden was such a remarkable child. He and I had such a connection.
Yeah.
Dude, like,
and now he's a badass fighter that can kick anyone's ass.
Exactly. He was such a special kid. Even as an infant, I loved the fact that he could not feed unless I was in the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He would pull right off her nipple and look around for me like,
he didn't feel safe without you there.
He loved having me in the room.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He was just such a dude. We would do things to him as a kid where little tiny baby, barely walking, and Dallas, his older brother, would act like he's beating me up. And dude, he'd come to the rescue. He would like freak out, like he's gonna fucking kill Dallas. So it was just that relationship is. I mean, I love that kid. I mean, Lexi's. I mean, my kids are just so fucking amazing.
You've got an amazing family. You've done a fucking great job as a father.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And Helena, I can't say enough about. She's coming as such a mother figure.
Absolutely fucking amazing. We love Helena. She's just an amazing, very powerful.
Very powerful. She's taught me so much.
Yeah, and she's taught us a lot too. So we're super grateful for her.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is so much information.
I know. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to, because it's getting really fucking hot in here.
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up,
yeah,
I want people to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
And I think the best story is your mission story. So I want you to tell that before we wrap things up.
Absolutely.
So you grew up LDS.
Yeah. Always had just it was a weird feeling with it. It didn't exactly resonate with me.
Which is very similar to me.
Yeah,
I never really cared for church. I kind of left when I was like 13-ish.
Yeah. About what I did too.
Yeah.
All through high school, I didn't go or anything like that. But friends started going on missions after.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep. Exact same thing for me.
Oh, Judas Priest. And and football didn't work out the way I wanted to work. I got injured my senior year, missed the majority of the season. Just things didn't play out. I was getting heavily recruited as a junior. Senior year just kind of went to shit. But so I felt a little lost. I felt a little lost coming out of high school, and everyone's leaving, and I didn't even really know what to do with my life. So in like almost just like at a grasp at a straw, like, fuck, my mom wants me to go on a mission, everyone else wants me to go on a mission. I guess I'm going to go on a mission. See how that plays out, Which, I was nervous as all get out about it, but the universe works in really specific ways and unique ways, to where my love for life at that point was, martial arts and football, and I loved football. So long story short, I get my mission call and I'm gone within like 8 weeks, like 6 weeks or something like that. It was crazy. It was like, I submitted, I got it within a week, and I'm like leaving. And other buddies of mine are getting their calls, and they're not leaving for months, 4 months. I'm like, they are racing me out the door. They're like, we got to get this guy out there before he changes
his mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I get over to Sweden, and I get there in December, and I immediately get moved. My first area is up in the Arctic Circle in Umeå, and it is pitch dark. It's up in the Arctic Circle. It's just pretty much 24 hours of darkness. You might get a little bit of a gray sky midday. It's just overly depressing. Do not like my companion. It's just like, oh my hell, what have I done? Thinking about how do I get out of here? How do I get out of here? What do I do? Can I just run?
Yeah. Very similar experience. I get it.
Yeah. So a couple months goes by. I get out of that area, transfer to a new area down. It's a beach town, brand new area. No members there at all. I have to take a train for 4 hours to go to a little tiny branch on Sundays. Yeah. So we get to this area, and I got a Swede that's a comp. He's my comp as a Swede. And I'm like, dude, what do you think we should do here? There's nothing, He's like, dude, well, tracting doesn't work. Knocking doors doesn't work. People hate that, So I'm like, okay, well, let's do service. I know they allow us to go do these English classes, things like that. So we go to all these different high schools, everything else. I start teaching in English classes, just getting the kids to talk just openly English-wise. And they like American English better than British English. So teachers love me. I'm coming around, eating up their hour so they don't have to do shit. And so in one of the classes, the guy, I'm wearing my Raiders tie, and he's like, hey, you like American football? I'm like, oh, yeah, I played. It was one of my loves, Yeah. It's my favorite sport. And he's like, my brother plays for a team right here in town. It's like a pro team, everything. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you need to come check it out. And I'm like, well, I'm technically not supposed to do that. But I got a better idea. I can teach you guys how to play a different form of football called flag football. So they haul me to their gym coach. I tell him, hey, let's try to do this. He's like, he loved the idea. He orders flags, and I tell him, order this, find this stuff. This is what we need, and I'll build a rule book and the whole 9 yards. So long story short, this blew up to multiple high schools. I developed an entire league. It was going across the city. I mean, every day me and my comp are roaming around playing flag football with kids, running different games and programs at different high schools and everything. That just blew up. It was just super
easy way for them to play without having to buy all the equipment.
Exactly. Yeah, and they loved it. Yeah. They loved it. So I'd play with them. So I playing in this one game one night, and that kid had brought his brother. And it was right after that game, he's like, dude, we've got to have you come play with us. We have specific rules here where we can only allow 2 Americans on the team, which is still or on the field. Yeah. You can have multiple Americans, but only on the field at one time. Still the rules to this day. It's crazy. This was in 92, 93. Yeah, so I'm like, well, how about I just come check it out? I'm technically not supposed to, pad up and play. He's like, they didn't quite understand that. And so I show up to a practice, see kind of how they're structured and everything, and see it's a total train wreck. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to help you guys out. I'll at least be a coach, which within no time they're like, dude, you got to play. So they give me all the best gear, they give me access to, weight room, everything. I'm working out with them. I'm training with them. My comp's just like, dude, who cares? Just do it. We're not going to say anything. We're out here on a freaking island, which there was only 80 missionaries in the whole country. Right. So we're spread out. So one of my first games was just nuts. These guys are big, strong.
Yeah. But have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Just no idea. Not really aggressive enough. Have no technique. I'm working with them, teaching them everything. It's just a mess. They're big Vikings dudes. I mean, we have a great line, everything else. They can kick the ball because they're all soccer players.
They just didn't grow up playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we did.
Oh yeah. So I mean, they were. Most of them were scared to death of me because I could just use. I had speed. And I got a decent build, so I can generate some force. Yeah. So first come in, first game we kick off, or they kick off to us. We get on the 20 because these guys boot the ball. Come in, the quarterback's American. He's like, dude, what do you want to do? Just give me the rock up the middle, dude. Let's just roll. Yeah. So boom, we run that right up the middle. Smash the inside linebacker. So that's what he's there. He's trying to step up in that hole. Boom.
Just run him over.
Run him over. Almost step on him in the process. That free safety back there, almost gets out of my way. He's like, yeah. And then I just take it, 80 yards for a touchdown. So it was just right out of the gate. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of fun. So, and then they would play me both ways. So that game, play a little bit of outside linebacker, and dude, I'm just eating these guys up. I'm everywhere. Every tackle is just like, they were just like, what on earth? You know, I have to wear a big A on my helmet, everything. They know who hilarious. I was. So, but that thing blew up into, I moved from one team to another team I went played with 3 teams.
And now, were these guys getting paid?
Some were.
Okay.
Some were, but not all of them. A lot of them were still volunteers because they had to use the money they would get from essentially the city that was supporting them to pay the key good guys, athletes, the coach. Most coaches were coming from overseas because no one in Sweden knew football. Right. So, I mean, and this is crazy enough. The first team I played for was a coach from Mexico who didn't speak Spanish or didn't speak Swedish or English. He had his nephew there who he would speak Spanish to, who would translate it into Swedish. Gosh. It was a cluster. So we
did they offer to pay you or
absolutely, yeah. They offered to. I said no, I'm not. I go, you guys just buy me things, just pay for maybe travel, things
just
like that.
Take care of me and give me this experience while I'm out here suffering as a missionary.
Yeah. I was just like, can't take money, So they paid for a lot of things, made it very easy for me. And I bounced around, but that thing blew up into it got a lot of publicity. Yeah. I mean, I got to walk around town. Kids were
You were like signing autographs.
Kids are coming up. Like girls are like wanting me to sign their, shirt.
Their cleavage.
Yeah, their cleavage. Just like, dude, this is just nuts.
And you're a missionary.
I'm a missionary.
Professional football.
Yeah, bouncing around, getting recruited by other teams. They're like, dude, you need to. I'm like, I can't really just pick up and leave whenever, guys. So it was very interesting. So I based upon where I got transferred to next, I would just hook up with that or whatever that team was.
Okay.
So I was in one area and ended up going from one team, transferred me to another team that was in another city not too far by because they're like, dude, come play with the better team, the bigger boys or whatnot. So they're like, you need to, so it was just fun. But I would.
So how long did this go on for until?
So that whole first spring, so they play football, the season is through the spring.
Okay.
So I got coming into summer. Like it's at late spring coming into summer. They end around the end of June. Like the summer solstice is a big holiday there. So they're trying to they either have that off and then the final championship game is more towards the end of June, beginning of July. And then they just start practicing again and doing things. And so I would practice in arenas and we were practicing in sand in one indoor arena. It was nuts, dude, during the winter months. And so, but then they would do pickup games. They'd have like scrimmage games with other nearby teams and just getting ready. So it was very cool and very open, community was amazing. They didn't have a big fan base, but a good enough fan base to where it was starting to build because it was so new. So I ended up kind of practicing and playing with those two teams. And then I ended up getting transferred more up north in a place called Avesta in the winter and went over and played with the Avesta Guardians was the name of, and that was a lot of fun. And that was kind of one of my longer areas, small little area, middle of nowhere, tiny little branch, to the point where the branch president told us I'm not allowed to baptize female girls because a cheerleader wanted to get baptized from that team. He says, nope, you're not allowed to do that, and you can't baptize anyone of any other ethnic,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So because we had, we had a black guy and like a Hispanic dude we were teaching, and he's like, you can't baptize them. It's whites only here, so I'm just trippy. Huh. I was like, that was my first exposure to what?
To racism.
Like,
in the church.
Are you what? Like I couldn't even believe it. So
how did you get caught?
So how I got caught was literally it just spread like wildfire. So a lot of the missionaries caught wind of it. I don't really know exactly. I was in a newspaper. I was on another news program. I don't know what exactly it was, but the president calls me up one day and says, hey, I think you need to fly into Stockholm, come into the mission homes. We need to have a talk.
Did you know?
Yeah, I knew. Yeah. Geez. But he was so cool and so low key about it. I knew he wasn't going to send me home.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I got the church so much publicity because they were talking to me about how I was a Mormon missionary. And I even ended up teaching religion classes at a college. So where these courses where because of through football, which I ended up getting some baptisms, get some really good relationships, lasting friends, but even got to be brought in to help clear up because they have a religion course. They just study all these different religions, and they had such a mess of information about the LDS religion, the Mormons, that I got to come in, really clear things up.
Yeah.
Show them how we're not, like we don't have horns and things.
We're normal and we can play football.
I mean, exactly. And so it was like, so suddenly the classrooms are just taking as many Book of Mormons as they can. They want a classroom set. Yeah. I would bring down bricks and the students would take one home. I would just say, these are here for free because we're giving out Book of Mormons. I don't know if that was how it was on your mission.
Yeah.
So they're bringing truckloads down. And so he's like, what is going on? So I think just between that and looking into a few things and then realizing, okay. And I think he may have even called around and asked, even a previous companion who was kind of like, yeah, I can't lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he pulls me in. He was super cool about it. Really cool about it. Only thing he really did is turn me into a junior companion underneath a Hispanic elder who taught Spanish in an area where I would teach all the Swedish, and he would teach all the Spanish. And so, but that ended up being a great area.
Yeah.
And I really got in some interesting relationship and connection to the Viking of where my Viking ancestry came from. So I know my great-great-grandparents, both of them, came from out of Sweden. So now I got transferred down to southern Sweden, where it was in Kalmar, and they have the longest bridge over this place called Öland, which is this big island. But, dude, there's like no one really lives out there. A bunch of Viking castles. Super cool. Like graveyards. Oh, and, dude, when I got to go and tour that, something just like awoke inside me. And the energy and everything. It's like
now you know exactly
there.
what that was.
Yeah, exactly. I'm way more in tune with it nowadays than ever. I didn't realize what it was there, and I'm just like, this is so cool. Like I just can't, So there was an appreciation there, but I didn't even realize how much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got caught.
Go junior
That ended your Swedish professional football career as a missionary.
Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted you to tell that story because it's like just one of my favorite stories. Dude. There's so many stories. We're gonna have to do this probably multiple times because there's so many stories. And now, like, it's been really cool watching you also just tap into all this information that we as a group are starting to tap into of like really how to become conscious men.
Oh, yeah, amen.
And like really, like you said, live our lives with intention in a way that we can have the best experience possible, and we can also help other people have the same.
Yeah.
And so, man, I really appreciate you coming on. You've been in the men's group since day one. You've helped me lead it. I've relied on you heavily for guidance. You're one of the elders really in my council. And so I really fucking appreciate everything you've done for me, for all the men in the group. And you've been just, dude, I cannot fucking say enough good about you. You're one of my best fucking friends. I'm so glad we found each other again in this life because it's been fucking amazing. It hasn't even been a year, and we got 50 more to just have fun and do cool shit and help the world, I think, and help other men especially.
Amen. Oh, totally. Yeah.
So
that's what I enjoy the most.
Love you, bro. Appreciate you coming on, and we're gonna do it again.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate you listening to this episode with my best fucking buddy, Dustin, the fucking man. Dustin Delight, the fucking stripper in another life, maybe.
Stripper in another life. Yeah, amen.
All right. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you too.